The prisoner. Malcolm's eyes fluttered open to a dimly lit room, the scent of damp wood and mildew clinging to the air. He was bound to a chair, his wrists and ankles chafed raw from coarse rope. Panic swelled in his chest as he struggled against his restraints, but the effort was futile. A twisted grin spread across the tall shadowed figure before him. A grinning, malevolent version of Steamboat Willie. The iconic figure twisted into a dark parody of his former self. Its eyes glinted with malice, his hands clasping and unclasping, as if savoring some dark delight. "Welcome, Malcolm," he said in a voice that seemed to echo and distort, like laughter heard through a foggy dream. "You want your freedom, don't you?" Malcolm's heart raced like a drumbeat of dread. He hadn't expected his attempt to break free from the friend zone to lead him here. Bound, confused, and paralyzed with fear. What started as a desperate attempt to impress Tanya, the woman who had kept him at arm's length for years, had spiraled into a waking nightmare. She had mentioned a rare artifact, hidden deep in an old, abandoned cabin, dangling the idea like bait. Losing his self-worth, and eager to win her attention, he set out to retrieve it, hoping it would finally earn him more than her casual friendship. But now, all he remembered was entering the cabin and shutting the door, and then everything was a blur. Shadows dancing, a flash of searing pain at the back of his neck. And then nothing. When he came to, he found himself a prisoner in a macabre scene. Held captive by something straight out of a dark fairy tale. A grinning, twisted figure from an old cartoon that should not exist. "You'll earn your freedom if you can answer 4 riddles," Willie whispered, his grin widening to an unnatural length. Then it continued. "But beware. Each riddle will test your understanding of the red pill world. Answer wisely, or remain my guest forever." Malcolm swallowed hard, wishing he paid more attention to Red Pill Podcast, but nodded. Because there was no other choice. The creature held up its gnarled finger as Steamboat Willie paced in front of him, his eyes never leaving Malcolm's face. "For the first riddle," he hissed, "answer me this. In the hands of fools, I am wasted with haste. But in the grasp of the wise, I build an empire's base. What am I?" Malcolm's mind raced. Money. It had to be. The riddle spoke of wealth and power. Of the difference between squandering riches and using them to build something greater. He took a deep breath. "Money," he said, his voice steady. Steamboat Willie's grin widened. "Correct," he purred, his voice dripping with approval. "But that was just a taste. Let's see if you can keep up." He then held up a second finger. Willie's ears twitched as he leaned closer, his voice dropping to a sinister whisper. "Riddle number 2. It powers the strong, and weakens the poor. Too little, you're broken. Too much, you're sore. What am I?" Malcolm's brows furrowed. He replayed the riddle in his head, turning over every word, every clue. "Energy," he said finally. "It's energy. It gives strength, but if you have too much, it overwhelms you." Willie's laugh echoed through the room, a sharp, piercing sound. "Very good," it sneered. 2 down. 2 to go." It then held up a third finger. The tall vermin's eyes narrowed, and the atmosphere seemed to thicken, the room growing colder. "This one is trickier," Willie murmured, his smile now a razor-thin line. "Listen carefully. I'm the fuel for desire, I grow what you sow. Ignore me, I wither. But focus, I'll grow. What am I?" Malcolm's chest tightened. The riddle spoke of something intangible yet powerful. Something that could change based on how it was directed. He thought of the countless distractions of the modern world, the constant bombardment of information and sensation. "Attention," he whispered, then repeated. "It's attention. Whatever you focus on, it expands." For the first time, Steamboat Willie's smile faltered, but only for a moment. Then it returned. Sharper, crueler. "Well, I'm impressed. But the final riddle. I wonder if you'll solve it." Then a fourth finger was raised. The room seemed to darken as Steamboat Willie loomed over Malcolm, his presence almost suffocating. "This is your last chance, Malcolm. Answer this, and you're free. Fail, and you stay with me forever. Willie then began. I am given, then taken, what once was is gone. I wait for no man, from dusk until dawn. Spend me, you can, and yet I can be saved. I march ever onward, from cradle to grave. What am I? Malcolm's pulse pounded in his ears. He knew the answer. It was on the tip of his tongue. Time. It had to be time. But something held him back. There was something more to it, something deeper. The riddle was about more than just the passage of seconds, minutes, hours. It was about life itself. The essence of existence. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Fear gripped him, a chilling realization that he didn't truly understand. What if the answer wasn't life? He wasn't sure. Tick-tock, Malcolm. Willie sang, his voice lilting and mocking. Time's running out. Malcolm's mind spun, the pressure mounting until it felt like his skull would split open. Finally, he gasped, time. It's time. Steamboat Willie's grin twisted into a sneer. Oh, you poor soul, he murmured. So close, yet so far. The answer was, what you just squandered, Malcolm. Life itself. The ropes around Malcolm's wrists and ankles seemed to tighten of their own accord, pulling him deeper into the chair. He thrashed, panic clawing at his throat, but it was no use. Steamboat Willie's laughter filled the room, echoing through Malcolm's mind like a terrible melody. You had your chance, Willie whispered, his voice a silken purr. 3 out of 4 isn't enough. You belong to me now. Malcolm's screams filled the darkened room as the shadowy figure of Steamboat Willie melted into the walls. His grin the last thing to disappear. The door to freedom and to be out of the friend zone was just out of reach. The key of the red pill slipping from Malcolm's grasp, forever one riddle away from enlightenment and salvation. And there, in the cold darkness, the prisoner of Steamboat Willie remained. Forever trapped. Forever unanswered.